Great. Okay, and now share. So, hi everybody. Really nice to see all of you guys. Today, I'd like to share just how I see the product development landscape is transforming, and hopefully show you a couple of quick live demos to show you some practical ways in how to build your MVPs. Whether you're a team or you're running your own venture or a solo founder, whatever you may be, I hope that you walk away with some interesting insights and that you can try and test out and implement these little tips and tricks that I've discovered along the way. Let Winsy in. There you go. So just a really quick intro. I'm Lizzie. I'm the founder of Wombat, and I'm also a product designer with quite a few years of experience shaping and launching digital products. I'd like to start off with my own experience as a product designer and my own bugbears with the current product development process. So usually the product development process looks a little like this: concepting, designing, prototyping, user interviewing into oblivion to justify and hedge bets in what you're making, then development, then launch, and then wait with bated breath until you essentially wait with bated breath to see if you get any users, but then also rinse and repeat this until you get to product market fit. For some quick teams, this process can take a couple of weeks, for some months. Some we'd rather not speak about, but we've all been in those kind of projects that kind of go on and on without an end in sight. So what is the problem with this process? From start to finish, this can take a super long time, a lot of effort and a lot of money. In fact, 75% of non-funded startups usually don't make it past the first launch before they run into money troubles. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but usually the cost of hiring and maintaining great talent through this whole process is just too high for people starting out. This leaves a lot of people feeling left out, a little bit like me in the beginning. Solo founders who can't source enough funding to visualize their idea, ending up in non-starting businesses, product designers who lose track of the development process and lose some key design elements that they've tested for, and CEOs, visionaries, and founders who, in this process, lose their vision or they lose opportunities because of this lengthy process. But I'd like to talk to you today about some changes, as David Bowie puts it, a shift in the power dynamic that puts the control back into the hands of the visionaries. And this was only made possible in the last few months by these marvelous AI development products. So there are plenty of these out there, but these are my favorite low-code or no-code go-tos, particularly Replit, which we'll be trying out today. I'm sure a couple of you on the call have played around with these tools already, but for me, they're just an absolute game changer. So what do these programs do? And how are they shifting the development process? Well, they can easily turn this expensive, long, time-wasting process into a much cheaper and faster one. These no-code AI development tools in the hands of founders and designers, CEOs and visionaries can allow you to build real-world complex MVPs and allow you to collect rich user data about what people think about your product within a couple of hours of launch. As a designer and a founder myself, I found that I could rapidly make updates and change my MVP to get closer to product market fit in a fraction of the time and cost. So here are a few examples of that. So I like to push these tools to the limits of what they can do. So here's an app that I built using Replit, which uses quite a few complex functions. It has AI to interpret live visual data. It identifies what it sees and then translates that into another language. 6 months ago, this would have been a wet dream for me as a product designer, as it would have been absolutely impossible for me to prototype in Figma due to the camera functionality. Not to mention impossible to user test because those Figma prototypes, you'd have to tell the user, please, can you just imagine that if there's a camera here and it's tracking? It wouldn't make any sense. Not to mention, 6 months ago, this would have been impossible for me to build myself with no coding knowledge. And a few years ago, maybe less than a few years ago, this would have been very difficult to code as a developer. This took me around 2 hours to build end-to-end in Replit. And it may not be perfect, but it is good enough for an MVP. So good, in fact, that after posting this on Twitter and LinkedIn, I was hit up by someone at the Inditex group to ask if I could make a quick MVP that was able to identify Zara clothing and link them to that specific item on the website to buy. This, after I forked the previous project, forking is not what you think, it's duplicating, took me 15 minutes to make. All I had to do was change the prompt, et voila, I had a working MVP to show and share and get me close to that product market fit without even breaking a sweat. Here's another app I built using Replit. Oh, sorry, Here's another app that I built using Replit. This is a project I worked on with Memrise. This is an experiment to test one of their AI buddies outside of the auth wall. Again, 6 months ago, you'd find this very difficult to test as it's a chat functionality. So the main issue with this is that if you try to test this with a user, you wouldn't be able to get a natural response. You'd have to anticipate what the user was going to say and then design that frame by frame, and it just makes a really unnatural experience. Now you can whip these kind of things up. Not only can you whip them up, but you can plug things in like the real-time API from OpenAI, like I did here. Then you can test that with users directly, and they can type in whatever they want, and you get natural language answers back to you as you test these chatbots. And essentially, whatever you want to design and plug in AI, you can make now. Lastly, to gather rich data from this user test, I also used Replit to build a login and authentication, as well as some analytics that captured important insights from each user. This is just the purest form of testing a hypothesis, and it's in your hands and your design team's hands. The funny thing about this specific project is that it took longer for me to get a dev to help me connect it to a URL than it did to build. It was insane. It was like 48 hours for me to be like, please, can you use these name servers so that we can connect this? It was wild. So my suggestion is that founders and designers adopt this new development process so that rapid testing, rich user feedback, and getting to product market fit are all achieved in the quickest and leanest way possible. And only then, when product market fit is achieved with these very lean MVPs, call them developers, make it properly. Call them in, spend a lot of money, get some really good ones because you've justified that your feature or your product has legs, that it's got traction, and it has a reason to be built properly from all that rich data that you got from the MVPs. So that shift means that developers need to build quite big projects, quite rarely. The power dynamic, which once was extremely dependent on developers and their time, is now being shared across the team. So what does that mean for teams now? And what does that mean for developers? A criticism that I hear a lot is that the AI code is shoddy and the AI development platforms are coming for their jobs. And I'm not 100% sure on either of those claims. The code it generates is certainly good enough to test a disposable MVP. And in terms of AI coming for their jobs, I also don't buy. But what will happen is that there will be more people able to code, release MVPs themselves. There'll be more people launching their own products in the market, more designers and founders who can code and release these development ambitions on their own. So I know this sounds like I'm certainly favoring these AI tools over development work, but really the point I'm trying to get to is just alleviating the pressure and responsibility placed on the developer's shoulders and sharing that among the team. And now we get to the juicy bit. The bit that I've been sweating about all afternoon. For people who just want to get things done, I'm going to show you a way of doing that with just a prompt and a dream. And then I'm going to show you how you can iterate that if you have some designs as well. And I'm going to essentially be using this Replit agent. I'll show you around all the different tools and the templates that it has to offer. Just in case you haven't heard or you haven't played with this before, this is going to become your new best friend. It's free, or at least it was free until last week. And even if it's not free to play around with, the lovely people at Replit have given me a sign-up link, which I can pass on to you guys with a couple of credits so you can test it out. So what we're going to make today is something that I essentially put a poll in one of the Slack channels of what I should build in these demos, and the winner was that I should build a website that matches you to your ideal cheese for vampires. So I'm never doing polls again, but here we go. I will make this website that matches you with your ideal cheese for vampires. So let's go. I'll share this tab instead. So before I kind of get stuck in with making that, let me just refresh the page because for some reason the menu is not working. The template menu's gone. Okay, they are actually actively iterating on this in the background, so it could be why some of the things are disappearing on Replit. Ah, no, there it is. Aha! Cool. So essentially, this is the Replit dashboard with all of the features available that you can see right here. The agent is what we're going to be using today. And then under here, there are just a couple of like templates that you can use. And they're essentially just prompts that you can feed into the Replit agent. Also, if you're more techie, there is a template library over here where you can decide what kind of coding languages that you want to use. But me personally, I prefer to just let the AI decide how it builds the app, mostly because I don't think I know very much better than the AI. I'd rather leave it to the AI to decide what it thinks is best. So let's get this started. So I'll just put in a really simple prompt. So make a website. I'm going to, just for the sake of demo purposes and experimental software, I'll try and make it super easy. Make a simple website that matches vampires with their ideal cheese. Include a quiz. There you go. So you may be super tempted to press this improve prompt button, but I would recommend that you do not. I'll show you why. So I'll just copy that, improve it. So it'll come up with lots of different core features and styles. You know, it says interactive personality quiz with vampire themed question, cheese database, personalized matching algorithm, results per page. This is all extra things. And the more that you give the AI to start with, the more likely it's going to tie itself into knots and just get lost along the way. So when you get used to using this, you can kind of go, okay, yeah, I don't want these because I know that the AI is not going to be able to handle it. But just in the beginning, one simple sentence is more than enough for it to get cracking. So let's start building. Again, early access, saying that it's very experimental. So just bear it in mind. Also, you don't lose anything from this. If it does tie itself into knots or it does take a long time, you can just restart the process and type in the same prompt and just hope that it does better the next time. But what I would always recommend is that you start off very basic and then you slowly layer in all of the added complexity that you want. So what it'll do is it'll essentially digest the prompt, and then it'll ask if you want to have any of these additional features. For the sake of simplicity, I don't really want vampire personality profiles or more detailed cheese descriptions, but I'm very happy that it has suggested those as they may have been vital to this quiz. So essentially, here we go. So do remember that this is super experimental right now. And although it works really well 9 times out of 10, it does get it right, but sometimes just that 10%, it does go off the rails, so you do have to be vigilant. I also have a couple of tips and tricks that you can try to always get a good result first go, but sometimes you just have to tinker around with it if you get some errors. So as you can see, the AI is busy working up all the code, and it's something that I actually really love about Replit because it's just fully transparent. The code that it writes is yours to use. You can edit it, download it, wrap it in a zip, or totally ignore it like what I do most of the time. Do whatever you like with it, really. It'll go through and set up all the environments for you. It'll add all of the files and folders, keep any secrets safe, like API keys. This is something that I learned the hard way because I kept uploading projects with my OpenAI key to GitHub, and that is not a clever thing to do with the World Wide Web. But it's a journey. But Replit, you don't need to worry about any of that stuff. because it's just going to set it all up correctly in the back end. All the dependencies are installed, so there's no need to set up any databases or anything like that. You can take it to various levels of complexity with different types of databases, and Replit will handle it all. So essentially, you can literally come to Replit without any coding knowledge and a dream and make your MVP. Sometimes it can just take a hot minute to work through. This process can take anywhere between like 2 minutes to 15 minutes, depending on the complexity of the app. So there we go. Look at that in all its glory. I really didn't expect it to be this great. If you have any design or artistic background, shield your eyes, as we haven't told it how we want the UI to look. So the AI did a fairly good job. So let's begin the quest. Here we go. How do you like to spend your eternal nights? Flying through stormy skies. Fine. Hunting style. Okay. Right? Like I feel like I've made these kinds of websites in Flash back in the day, before Flash was really destroyed. Sure. Reveal my match. Genuinely curious. And a picture of mozzarella, but doesn't matter. Blue cheese, bold and adventurous. This cheese matches your daring spirit, not for the faint of heart. So you see, we started this 3 minutes ago, and we have a working quiz that we can literally deploy at any moment that we want to. And essentially, if I wanted to deploy this to the World Wide Web, I would just go to deployments. I didn't really know very much about what these mean. I'm sure people on the call know them much better than I do. The only thing I think I know is the auto scale that meets the demand, but I don't anticipate that my vampire cheese quiz is going to go viral anytime soon, so I'm just going to leave that. And you can mess around with the machine configuration. Again, haven't the foggiest what that means. There you go, deployment secret, so it's got stuff going on there, and I can just hit deploy. And it'll go out and be published to the World Wide Web for everyone to find their vampire cheese matching things. So super simple in how you can implement it. Now, I'm going to try and take this a step further, which I haven't done before. Oh, thank you very much, Jamie. What you can do to kind of hone in the UI and just get it a little bit nicer. I mean, if you're not into the 90s style, is you can add an image, a reference image. So I'm going to see if I can find a reference image. So I've just added, I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see this. I've just added this reference image that I got from Mobbin. I mean, it's not very much better than what we have, but I'm going to feed it into the AI, and usually it'll use this reference image and then change all the styles to match it. You can do this from the beginning. You can say, hey, you could go and screenshot Airbnb, every single page of Airbnb, and say, remake this. And it'll do its best to match the exact look and feel and the exact page structure of Airbnb. So I'm just going to feed this into it and just say, copy this look and feel. I like it more. It's cleaner and more modern. Don't know. And then we just feed that into the agent and see what it does. Yeah, I'll update the design to the aesthetic of ClickUp's interface. That's something I'm also freaking out about with AI now, is that it can actually see images and what the text is within the images. I think that's pretty cool. While it works away in the background, hopefully it'll start soon. Anyway, you can actually go into these files yourself. So if you wanted to double check things that are working, if you have any coding or development knowledge, you can go in here and edit things and save it. Oh, there you go. So it didn't do it one-to-one, but it did try and match the styles in terms of the purple. So And this looks so much better, right? I mean, what like the example that I gave it is this. So it's not one-to-one, but it's getting there. It's pretty close. So, I would say that that's a win for Replit. So that is the end of my um, little experimental tour that I was hoping would go well, and it appears that it did go well. So here we go. Share this type instead. So thank you. Thank you very much. So as a quick debrief, the Replit pros, there's no coding knowledge required at all. You can go in with a prompt and a dream. You can build and deploy super quickly, and there's no need to set anything up. The Replit cons is that it's best for testing kind of standalone features rather than integrating it in with current systems. It's best to test like just something that can be on its own URL rather than integrating with everything else. It also has a very annoying rate limit, which they're going to be lifting hopefully in the next couple of weeks. They're going to be changing it from having a maximum amount of use that you can use it, and then banning you for 6 hours until you can use it again, to giving you a credit system, which is going to be a million times better. As well, lastly, it's experimental. It's in beta still. So it does tie itself in knots occasionally, and all you have to do is just hit restart and try again. But like with the time that you save, it doesn't matter if you have to start again, really. I mean, we made that in what, 6 minutes? It's not even 30 minutes. So just some closing thoughts. Calls to the service, calls to the API. It's calls to the API, I think. I have to double check, but yeah, I think it's calls to the API. So considering that now we have this amazing technology at our disposal, we can empower our teams to take strides and test and experiment and build MVPs and get closer to that product market fit at a fraction of the cost. New startups are going to grow as this technology opens up the door to more people who, in the past, would never have been able to build a product alone. So if we take advantage of these new tools and train up our teams in how to use these holistically in their environments, I can't imagine the speed and the products that are going to emerge in the next 6 months. I'd really love to know as well how you guys think this new technology is going to shape the future, how it's going to affect the product development process, and where you think these tools are going to take us. So if you've made it to the end, thank you very much. And if anybody's got any questions, the floor is open. Any questions?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I've got you.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Chris. So I'm one of those horrible developers.
Oh no.
That kind of thing. No. I was just wondering a question. So do you know if they're like, are we just going to get to a point where these things can handle like the big context and like a huge project, do you think? Or do you reckon they'll stay around this kind of level and like they'll always kind of find that stuff hard? Where do you think like the future's going on that front?
So my co-founder for Wombat he's a full stack developer, but he leans more towards backend. And I can't imagine the systems that he creates, like these just intricate systems of how everything interconnects. I can't imagine AI doing a good job of that. I can see that it'll do a very good job of like surface level, front end, just getting like the basic out there.
Yep. I mean, it's a question of context size, right? Because if the AI, I don't know, maybe in a couple of years, literally, we'll just feed in a huge code base and it'll just be perfect. That could happen in a couple of years, right? Like we don't know yet. I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it could. But for me, this has just been a total game changer. This and Cursor as well. I've been using Cursor quite a lot. And it's helped me cover the base of my co-founder, because he's like, oh, front end, I hate front end. And as a product designer, I'm like, oh, this is great. Here you go. Like, here's some spaghetti code, but at least it works.
I use it all the time. Yeah. I'm 50% ChatGPT these days. So.
It's crazy. I asked my co-founder the other day, how do I do this? And he went to Claude straight away. And I was like, yeah, it's wild.
No, it looks like a fantastic tool.
Cool. Jamie?
Firstly, thanks, Elizabeth. Like, love the fact that just like a half-hour bite size. Like, I'd sign up for things like that all the time. Thank you. So, really appreciate you being so generous. Guess I'm definitely inspired to. I head up product, so I'm definitely inspired to use this to kind of try and motivate my team to experiment more, play faster. Just in terms of that example there, how easy is it to widely share that? So if you're trying to motivate people to look at your work or what you've done, like when you deployed it, does it actually give you a URL that you can then that simply just hosts that application you built?
Yeah, I've got it here.
Okay, maybe that was the bit that I missed. Sorry.
There you go. I'll post it in the chat. But then you can also set your own URL if you want. But this is just kind of like the default.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
Cool. Anybody else?
I'll definitely put my hand up for any referral links you said you might share.
Cool. I'll send them over.
I've got a quick question. Hi, Richard here.
Hey.
I've been playing around with Cursor, and I just wanted to. You also obviously use Cursor, so I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on the differences and strengths of the two tools versus maybe just using Claude or ChatGPT nowadays.
Sure. So Replit, you could put that in the hands of anybody to use, and they can go away and they can make whatever they want. Cursor, at least for me, was a steeper learning curve because I had to use the terminal, and I'd never used the terminal before. Like I literally made a cheat sheet of like npm run dev cd, what these things mean, because I kept running into things that I was like, I'm not sure what that means. But Cursor is just a much more robust program. If you know what you're doing, I can imagine. I mean, Chris, have you used Cursor before, Chris?
No.
In development? I can imagine that it would be more complementary to your kind of work than it is for me as a product designer trying to struggle and muddle through. In saying that, that was the only way that I could help my co-founder in making the front end stuff. I couldn't do it with Replit. Cool. Bye, Jamie. I couldn't do that with Replit. I could actually put everything into Cursor and build in the native environment with Cursor, but I wouldn't be able to do that with Replit. In terms of just asking OpenAI and Claude versus these tools give the whole context. So particularly in Cursor, you can just feed the whole code base in if you wanted to, so it can just review everything that goes through. A cheat that I usually do for Cursor is I ask it to review the code base and make a profile of the developer that built it, and then make like a psychological analysis of that developer and code it like it was that developer. Mostly because I know my co-founder, and every bit of code that he reviews from a different developer he doesn't like. So if I do it like it's him, then I'm anticipating that he will like it a little bit more. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah.
No, that's great, and especially that tip with imitating the code style and structure is actually quite useful. Thanks.
Cool. Anybody else?
That type form link, Lizzie, can you drop that in the chat as well?
The type font for the vampire?
Yeah, no, that link that you had up on the last slide.
Ah, okay. You just want to know what the font is?
No, did you have a link that you wanted feedback on?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Good spot. I always forget to share that. So yeah, if you have any feedback, I would love to hear it. Feel free to message me directly. I'll send you guys an email with the recording tomorrow. And yeah, please, any feedback would be very helpful. Cool. Last question. Speak now, forever hold your peace.
I was just going to say, I really think the half-an-hour format was great as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but mostly because I just switch off. Like if it's an hour, yeah, I can't. TikTok's ruined my brain. So cool.
Yeah, super helpful. Thanks, Lizzie.
No worries. Cool. All right. Cool. Well, let's wrap it up. Cool.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Bye, guys. Bye.